Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter number 2, contents of the Gita summarized, and today we will finish text 39. So first we'll chant. Esha te bihita sankye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandham prahasyasi. Esha te bihita sankye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandham prahasyasi. Esha te bihita sankye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandham prahasyasi. Esha, all this, te, unto you, abhihita, described, sankhye, by analytical study, buddhihi, intelligence, yoge, in work without fruit of result, tu, but, imam, this, shunu, just here, buddhya, by intelligence, yuktaha, dovetailed, yaya, by which, parta, O son of Brita, karma bandham, bondage of reaction, prahasyasi, you can be released from. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Sri Prabhupada. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruit of results. O son of Brita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourselves from the bondage of works. Please repeat. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruit of results. O son of Brita, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So we're studying this purport at the second paragraph to the end. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Sishyeshteham sarimam tvam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in buddhi yoga or karma yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This buddhi yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord. who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to the stage of bhakti-yoga by special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service, out of transcendental love, does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever-blissful kingdom of God. Thus, the bhakti-yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya. Nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Sankhya means the analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of bhakti-yoga or bhakti-yoga. Therefore, Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all bhakti-yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti-yoga. Sankhya Yoga pritagbhala pravadanti na panditaha. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti-yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad-Gita. One should therefore understand that bhakti-yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness, in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of bhakti-yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification, for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Bhakti-yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Aum jnanatimirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayham dadati svapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Esha te bihita sankye buddhir yoge tvimam shrinu buddhya yukto yaya parta karma bandham prahasyasi. Thus far I have explained this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So, as we heard yesterday, this is a change in Krishna's approach. From text numbers 11 to 30, Krishna was directly countering Arjuna's arguments that he didn't want to kill his relatives, his teacher, and everyone like that. He's saying, well, actually, the soul is different from the body. Killing the body is not killing the soul. You can't kill the soul. It is immutable, it is unchangeable, it can't be cleaved. It's eternal. So therefore you're not actually killing anybody when you kill the bodies. After that, from text 231 to 238, Krishna is going back onto karma kand. He's saying, you are worried about sinful reaction, but your sinful reaction comes from not doing your duty. You should act according to your duty, and then you won't incur sinful reactions. You should be acting as a kshatriya. You should be protecting for people from harm, and like that. So Krishna gave those arguments. He said, so he's destroyed Arjuna's arguments on the grounds of killing his relatives, and on the grounds of sinful reactions, even on the grounds of happiness or unhappiness as a result. Because he said the kshatriya is always happy. Either he's killed on the battlefield, he will attain Svargaloka. And if he wins, then he will enjoy the kingdom, and he will have so much fulfillment from fulfilling his duty as a kshatriya. So in this way, so many of Arjuna's arguments have been destroyed. So Krishna has spent his time replying to Arjuna. What you've said is wrong because of these reasons. Because the soul and the body are different. The soul is eternal, the body is always going to disintegrate and die and end. And because you should do your duty as a kshatriya. And now we're changing because Krishna is telling Arjuna what he wants him to do. He's starting to give an instruction. This is what you've said is not correct, and these are the reasons why. And so now he's saying what he actually wants him to do. He wants him to fight for the proper reasons. So he's introducing the idea of bhakti-yoga. So here we'll discuss these terms Sankhya before. As Srila Prabhupada has said in the purport, this Sankhya, in the first paragraph, in the first sentence, he said Sankhya means describing things in detail, and Sankhya means that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. So that Krishna has given. He has described the nature of the soul. Srila Prabhupada also explains in the purport bit that we read that this is a little different in description from Lord Kapila's Sankhya. How in this first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada also explains how Lord Kapila explains how the Purusha created the material world by glancing at it, and how everything was created from, as a result of that glance, how everything was created. Srila Prabhupada concludes by saying that actually, although Kapila's Sankhya and this Sankhya are slightly different in the nature of the description, that they're actually equivalent, because they actually lead both to Buddhi Yoga. Now, some significant things from the purport. The word Buddhi Yoga, we know means Buddhi means intelligence, and Yoga means to link. Now, Srila Prabhupada in his purport refers directly to chapter 10, verse 10. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam didami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So this satata yuktanam, always engaged, bhajitam, in devotional service with love. So in today's purport, Srila Prabhupada has called it communion. He said that such communion, chapter 10 verse 10, is being direct communion with the Lord. So the devotee comes into communion with the Lord. Now there is some very nice explanation to Buddhi Yoga in the purport to this 10:10. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter of the Lord instructing Arjuna said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. So this is the same verse we're talking about today. Now Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. As Prahlad Maharaj says in his teachings, he says that this is the highest goal, nati vidut svartagatim hi Vishnu, that the highest artha, the highest wealth we can achieve is to come back to Krishna. So the same thing is being repeated here. The highest intelligence that we can actually engage in is Krishna consciousness that will take us back to Krishna and out of this material world. The ultimate goal of the process is Krishna. People do not know this, therefore the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed. So this understanding of the goal is extremely important, and in the following couple of verses, tomorrow's verse talks about how there's no loss or diminution when you take up this process of Buddhi Yoga. And then the following verse, 41, talks about Vyavasayatmiko Buddhiya, which is one-pointed intelligence. So once you know what the goal is, then as Srila Prabhupada said in this purport, you will slowly but surely go towards the goal. Now that we always make the point, if you don't know what the goal is, then how you will reach it. If the plane takes off from the airport and it doesn't know which airport it's flying to, then what does it do? Where does it go? It's completely random. So first we must be absolutely sure of this goal. Okay, so this communion This Buddhi Yoga is very important. So this process in this verse 10:10, to those constantly engaged in serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they may come to me. So this Buddhi Yoga, some people think that if we use our intelligence, then that becomes Gyan. But here Krishna is emphasizing that this Buddhi Yoga, this use of intelligence, this is not Gyan, because the intelligence will be given by Krishna. It's not our intelligence. The intelligence will come when we take up this process of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada also gave a class on today's verse, and he talks about the most important thing is the development of the attachment for Krishna. We'll go to that a little later, but I'll just continue going through this purport just now. So at the end of that first paragraph that we read, which is the second paragraph in the purport, Srila Prabhupada actually summarizes this verse number 10:10. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service, out of transcendental love, does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. So this knowledge that Krishna is awarding is not something we can gain by our intelligence. It has to come from Krishna, because it's the knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. So in the next following paragraph, Srila Prabhupada talks about Buddhi Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. So in his in verse number chapter 5 verse 4, which is mentioned in the purport, Sankhya Yoga pritak balaha pravavanti napanditaha ekam apyastita samyag ubayo vindate palam. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Now, so Srila Prabhupada in his class on this verse, he describes this Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga. We'll go to the class and read some of it a little later, but I'll just try and summarize it first, and then we'll go to it and come back to it. So he talks about Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga as being two departments of knowledge. And so he describes first Sankhya, and then he says, and now Krishna describes another department of knowledge, which is Buddhi Yoga. So Sankhya Yoga, as we have in the Bhagavad-Gita, is we had two stages. From verse number 211 to 30 is knowing that the soul is different from the body. The soul is eternal and it cannot be killed. And the other part of the Sankhya is to know that we have to act according to our duty. And the Kshatriya has to act by protecting people from harm. So this is also knowledge that relates to application of knowing the soul is different from the body. And while we're in the body, we should act piously. So as a contrast, Buddhi Yoga is bringing us to spiritual reality, because this intelligence is to take us straight to the spiritual platform. So that is knowing the soul, not only knowing that the soul is different from the body, but understanding the soul and the super soul, understanding that the soul is part and parcel of the Supreme and qualitatively one. And then understanding that the relationship of the part to the whole is to act on the order. So the proper engagement for the soul is to act on the order of the Supreme. So Srila Prabhupada in his lecture also makes a point how the asuras, the atheists and demoniac, they don't know what's to be done or what's not to be done. Pravritam cha, navritam cha. They don't know what the proper thing to do is or what the thing is not to do it. So, for one acting in devotional service, we must act according to these directions of the Supreme. We must do what we're told and not do what we're told not to do. So we've discussed already from this purport that Krishna's Sankhya is different from Lord Kapilya's Sankhya, but it's equivalent because it aims at devotional service. And that atheist Kapila's yoga has no place in this discussion. So the purpose of Sankhya is to bring one to bhakti, and therefore there is no distinction between this Sankhya and bhakti. And for Buddhi yoga, there must be love. Therefore, Buddhi yoga is equal to bhakti yoga. So in this way, Sankhya yoga and bhakti yoga are equivalent. So now if we find this lecture and go through a few points on that. Yes, so in the beginning of the lecture, Srila Prabhupada takes us to that, the last line of the verse today, Karma Bandham Prahasyasi. By acting in this way, by acting in Buddhi Yoga, you will be freed from the bondage of works. So he talks about how acting piously gives us a good future, and acting impiously gives us a bad future. So human life means at least to act piously. So this is the beginning. But of course, this acting piously also has its bondage. So we have to go beyond acting piously. But in the very, very beginning of our activities, we have to act piously. We have to act according to Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad-Gita. And so to get to that Buddhi Yoga, we act according to Krishna's instructions. When you act according to the direction of the Supreme, Krishna, or his representative, that is called Buddhi Yoga. Srila Prabhupada is again quoting 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti toy. What is Buddhi Yoga? Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam. People are 24 hours engaged. Satata means always. And what kind of engagement? Bhajatam pritipurvakam. Pritipurvakam means with love and faith. So not, I have to do it because Krishna says I have to do it, but I want to do it because Krishna says I have to do it. So therefore I will do it nicely. So Prabhupada is enforcing this point of pritipurvakam. There must be love. Attachment for Krishna is the basis. When you serve Krishna, if you have no love for Krishna, you cannot serve him very nicely. And also Krishna does not accept your service. We have in 926, Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham toyam me no bhaktya prayachati. So Krishna is asking for us to serve him with love. So this love is required before we get this communion with Krishna, which Srila Prabhupada is talking about. So Srila Prabhupada is making the point that Krishna really wants to give us this intelligence. He's trying very hard in the Bhagavad-Gita. He says, just surrender unto me, and I will protect you. I will protect you from ill sinful reactions. He says in 10:10, I will give you the intelligence. So Krishna Srila Prabhupada summarizes, Krishna is saying, why you are suffering, you just surrender unto me and I will give you all protection. So then our devotional service must be in love. So it must be serving Krishna favorably. So bhakti means anukulyena krishnanushilanam. That is bhakti. Anya bilasita shunyam jnana karma janavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. So this is from Nectar of Devotion, and it's also given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruit of action. The devotee must constantly serve favorably, Krishna favorably, as Krishna desires. So jnana, karma, and avritam means we have to get rid of acting out of the desire for results, and we have to get rid of acting out of jnana, which means trying to think we can come up with a solution without surrendering. And avritam means it has to be not covered. In the beginning we're not pure, but also this not covered, this anavritam also means that jnana and karma are involved in bhakti, but they are not covering bhakti. Because this buddhi yoga we're going to learn about means acting in Krishna consciousness. We're actually acting. So in some ways it's karma yoga, but the difference is the motivation. In karma yoga, which is simply karma yoga, one acts how one wants to do and then offers some result to Krishna. But in buddhi yoga, which is the higher karma yoga, we come to in chapter 5 of the Bhagavad-Gita, we're acting in Krishna consciousness, but we're acting. We're not like a jnani who's doing nothing. And at the same time, knowledge is involved, because without knowledge, we can't act properly, and we won't act with love. And so Krishna is giving us the knowledge, so we're not jnanis, but knowledge is involved. So it doesn't say without activities and without knowledge, it says not covered by activities and not covered by knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada goes to this point of how acting in buddhi yoga means acting according to Krishna instructions. And because we know that Krishna is the ultimate goal. Na te vidu svartagatim hi Vishnu. So the asuras pravritam cha nivritam cha na vidur asura janaha. Asura janas, those who are not asura, those who are asuras, they do not know what to do and what not to do. Therefore, one has to learn how to live, what to know, and what to forget. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that every time there is a do, there is a don't that goes alongside it. So he's going through the 4 regulative principles. We learned there is no illicit sex. And so the do is, if you want sex life, then you get married according to religious principles, get a wife and beget nice children. So that is a do. And intoxicants, you do not take intoxicants, but you do take Krishna prasadam and be intoxicated with Krishna's love. That is the do. You do not indulge in gambling, but for the sake of bhakti-yoga, we engage in gambling. And Srila Prabhupada said, our gamble is that we'll dedicate this life to Krishna and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we can get back to Godhead. So we don't engage in mundane gamble, but we have a gamble. Let's take the chance of trusting what Krishna is telling us and dedicate our life to Him, and in that way we're gambling this life in order to gain Krishna. So he says, give up nonsense business of gambling, but you take to Krishna business. That is gambling because you do not know what will happen. So therefore there are do's and do nots. But in buddhi yoga, we take Krishna's side of what to do and what not to do. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam. We always act with love and devotion in service to Krishna. Okay, now something more was there. So the last thing Srila Prabhupada in his lecture, the last main point, he talks about how his duty, how Arjuna's duty as a Kshatriya is part of Sankhya Yoga. This is your duty as a Kshatriya, and you're choosing not to fight. So in this way, you should act according to Sankhya. You have learned that you're a Kshatriya. You have duties as a Kshatriya. The soul is immortal, the body is perishable. Your grandfather or your kinsman, they will not die. They will attain higher planets themselves, or they will get a new body and they will continue to act and get a better destination in future. Okay, so the other thing that I have is some very nice notes on what we learn from this section of the Bhagavad-Gita. So this section, it starts today, this section on Buddha Yoga. So from this verse today, 239 up to 253, is about Buddha Yoga. Srila Prabhupada makes the point that when we think of intelligence, we think of buddhi, we think of gyan. And gyan implies we sit down and do nothing and think. But this Buddha Yoga, this is different from gyan. Because in Buddha Yoga, Krishna wants Arjuna to act. He wants him to fight. So the practical application from this section, from 239 to 253, is that this bondage, this karma bandham, is determined not by whether we act or we don't act, but it's determined by our consciousness when we act. And the other learning from this section is that one will remain free from bondage if his activities are guided by a conception of the eternal spiritual self. In other words, if you are situated in knowledge of ourselves as being spirit soul and being part and parcel of the Supreme, then that will guide our activities and will free us from bondage. So Krishna is introducing Buddha Yoga, which is not jnana. Summarizing Krishna's arguments, 2:10 to 2:11, Krishna starts to speak to motivate Arjuna to fight. Next, Krishna describes jnana, knowledge of the immortality of the soul, which is to dispel Arjuna's material compassion and limitation based on bodily conception of life. So Arjuna was feeling very distressed at the thought of killing his kinsman. So this knowledge that the soul is immortal and he actually can't kill them is to dispel his compassion and his lamentation. Then 231 to 238, Krishna uses karma kanda arguments. And this is a lower principle, but it counters Krishna's arguments that he would not be happy if he killed all his kinsmen, even if he won the kingdom. So Krishna was talking about the higher enjoyment of doing your duty, and you either go to the heavenly planets or you do your duty and you gain the kingdom. And how sin comes from not doing your duty, not by not killing. So in this 239 to 253, basing the knowledge of the soul that we've already got with the relationship with Krishna, then we can become engaged in service according to Krishna's desires. So this is the higher motivation. In traditional analysis of this section, some people just call it Nishkam Karma Yoga. But Srila Prabhupada brings it higher and makes it Buddha Yoga, which is action in Krishna consciousness. There's some very nice commentary that I was listening to. One of our speakers here in the Bhagavad-Gita class a year or two back was telling us how actually People break up this Bhagavad-Gita into different sections. This piece is Karma Yoga, and the last 6 chapters is Jnana Yoga. But actually, what Srila Prabhupada has done is he's made it all bhakti-yoga, and that everything is a description. Karma Yoga is how you act in devotional service, and Jnana Yoga is the knowledge you need to keep you performing devotional service properly. So nothing in the Bhagavad Gita is actually separate from Bhakti Yoga. It's just different ways of describing it to make us fully convinced to take up this process fully. So the motivating force in 239 is Buddhi Yoga, motivating principle. We should act according to Krishna's desire. So the difference between this knowledge, this jnana, and regular jnana, is Krishna is using this knowledge to incite Arjuna to fight. Whereas Arjuna was thinking, well, knowledge means I don't have to do anything. I can just no, I'm not the body. I'm in soul, and I can just walk away. But Krishna is saying, no, you need to fight. Okay, so there's a lot of description here, and we don't need to go through all of it probably, because some of it we've covered. Because we should we just finished this last summary. So Krishna has described Buddhi Yoga as being devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. Actually, that was Srila Prabhupada's words in the purport. So Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita 10.10 that we went through, how Buddhi Yoga means bhajatam pratipurvakam, acting in loving devotional service. And then so this is Srila Prabhupada calls direct communion with the Lord as Paramatma. And this communion does not take place unless there is devotional service, unless there is loving service. So the last thing that is compared in these purport is how fruit of work is working for fruit of results, whereas Buddhi Yoga is working in Krishna consciousness. Buddhi Yoga means to work for Krishna consciousness in full bliss and knowledge. In fruit of work, the criteria for fruit of work is we act because we want something. We act for personal sense gratification. But in Buddhi Yoga, sense gratification is for Krishna only, not for ourselves. And so therefore, no matter how difficult the work is, we are satisfied because we're acting for Krishna's pleasure. Fruit of work is only interested in material happiness and leads to further bondage. Whereas in Buddhi Yoga, the knowledge is revealed, because Krishna is promised in 10.10 that he reveals the knowledge. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord. And this means that liberation is easily achieved, is complete in itself without making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. So now he's comparing to Gyan. Gyan means I want to become liberated, so let me acquire knowledge in order to get out of this entanglement of the material world. But Buddhi Yoga means we engage in this process of devotional service, and liberation comes automatically. We don't even have to think about it. Okay. So, after this there are some very nice verses, and they will come up tomorrow and the next day, some of my favorite verses, especially 241 about single-pointed intelligence, vyavasayatmika buddhiya. But here I should ask if there's anyone who has any comments or questions about today's class. There's a microphone at the back so the radio listeners can hear. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned about anavritam, dhyana karmani anavritam. So, could you please explain what is the meaning of not being covered by monistic philosophy?
Well, so the verse does not say that there is no karma and no gyan. Anavrita means not covered. So how it was described, I believe it was when I was studying Bhakti Shastri that I learned about this verse. Anavritam means not covered. But bhakti-yoga, pure devotional service, includes some karma we act in Krishna consciousness. So we're doing activities. So activities are there in devotional service, but they don't cover our motivation, which is to please Krishna. And similarly, this knowledge is there. We're studying the knowledge, like in the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita, so much knowledge is there to help us become fixed in devotional service. But it's not taking us away from the purpose of pure devotional service. It's not taking us somewhere else, or it's not taking us for some other motivation. Like the motivation of karma that covers gyan, the motivation is for personal material gain or sense gratification. And the motivation of gyan, when it covers bhakti, is for liberation, for just getting rid of this entanglement. So karma is there and yoga is there, but it's part of devotional service. So it's anavritam. It's not that we don't act, and it's not that we don't know anything. So like that. That's how I was explained it. Thank you for that. Some other points that we want to discuss? Some corrections you'd like to make? Okay, if we've got nothing else to discuss, just to complete, we should read these next 2 verses, because they're such nice verses. Neha bikrama nasosti pratyavayo navijite svalpam apyasya dharmasya chayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So when we hear Srila Prabhupada talk on this verse, he means literally there's no loss. He explains that if you do even 1% of devotional service in this lifetime, in your next lifetime you'll start beyond that, so you'll start from 2%. So it's very literally, there is no loss at all. Any slight gain in devotional service. So this is why we try and engage people who come into our temple in some devotional service. There's so many things we do in our temple program are to engage people in devotional service, even if they come in randomly. Like we start off with Mangalarti by glorifying the spiritual master. So anyone who comes in starts, the words glorify the spiritual master. Even if they don't know them, they're hearing them. And they're looking at the beautiful deities, and so therefore they have showing some respect for the deities. That's why we keep our altars so beautifully decorated and so nice and clean, because they attract people to respect the deities. And in that way, the people coming in, even if they have no knowledge at all, can respect the beauty of the deities, even if they don't know what they are. And Krishna will see that, and he will award some benefit. We have Tulsi Puja, and so many people, especially in India, they respect Tulsi anyway. They may not know that she's a pure devotee, but they respect her. So we engage them in Tulsi Puja, and therefore they're honoring the pure devotee. And in that way, they will make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So this little advancement will keep going and keep going. And of course, Srila Prabhupada's main goals for spreading Krishna consciousness was Sankirtan, so they can hear the holy name, and distribution of prasadam, so they can actually take Krishna's prasadam. And in that way also, even people randomly on the street will make some advancement, and that advancement is never lost. As soon as someone even hears the name Krishna, their next birth as a human is guaranteed. So that's pretty good. So there is no loss or diminution. It's a really powerful verse. It really means what it says. And then the next one, text number 41, Vyavasayatmika Buddhir, Eke Kurunandana, Bahu Shaka Hyanantascha, Buddhayo Vyavisainam. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So this resolute purpose is so nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in so many places, how in devotional service one is fixed in service to Krishna, through the service to the spiritual master. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary has said that this Vyavasayatmika Buddhi or intelligence is to take the service to the spiritual master as one goal in life. Never mind if one's successful or not, never mind if you can do it or not, never mind if it will lead you to a higher planet or it will lead you back to Godhead, but simply to have that much faith in serving the spiritual master that you will do what he says. And take it as your goal in life and never leave that service. So it's also so wonderful. And we can see it all around us, with the devotees all around us, and especially we can see it in Srila Prabhupada's disciples. The marvelous thing about listening to them is you can see how they fixed their determination to stay in devotional service even after 40 or 50 years. So we can aspire for that much determination, that much dedication to Guru. Through our own Gurus, we're serving also Srila Prabhupada. We have that much fixed also in Srila Prabhupada, because he is our preeminent Siksha Guru for all time, for ISKCON. So we can see these qualities in these devotees, and we can aspire to also gain these qualities. So if there's any further discussion, please add it, otherwise we'll finish. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.